So we're in your economics book. We're in chapter 5 now, the productive market economy. There's some highlights here. We're going to talk about market signals, contrasting economic systems, profits, and productivity. So let's begin here. Let's first start with market signals. So we know in America, sometimes we take it for granted that we have such a huge supply of goods and services. So we think, why is a free market superior? Well, if you travel in the world, you know that markets all over the world are quite different than America. And everyone has to give something for labor and goods, especially in America. Market. What's a market? Market is the mechanism that allows people to exchange goods. So in everyday speech, a marketplace is what? It's where goods are bought and sold. It's where you meet, where the consumers meet the producers, right? In the midst, the consumers and the sellers, I should say. That is the marketplace. There's all different kinds of marketplaces. There's stock markets, there's commodity markets, there are money markets, which are a little different than, the market of the grocery store. So, but there's also local markets that we go to, big city markets, regional markets, national markets, and even world markets. So market is the common name. So human beings determine what goes on the market, though, don't we? There's the producer and there's the consumer. So here's a picture we have. So you see the market there. I'm sure you're familiar with different markets. So when we think of human beings determine what goes on the market, the producers and consumers become very important, don't they? So today we have these huge malls that are in supermarkets, huge supermarkets, and sellers must guess correctly. When they do, they can sell many of their goods in just a few days. And we have retail markets that are very profitable in exchanges and demands that exist on the free market. The free market obeys the laws of supply and demand, and that way the kinds of goods can be determined by demand for and supply of these goods, right? So what really determines the choices? We have economic decisions that are made by individuals. It's not by some impersonal force or government in America necessarily, although the government does affect it, of course. But our decisions are made by private individuals and private businesses. Although God has an invisible hand, as we saw with Adam Smith saying, God has an invisible hand in all this too. So let's go see. We already found how the free market obeys the laws of supply and demand. So let's go on here. Here's this, I like this proverb here. It says, in all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth to penury. Well, anyway, what's it saying is that, yes, there is profit, but what is really profit? That's what the Bible is saying. The kinds of goods that are produced and the prices charged for those goods are determined by the demand for and the supply of these goods. So, and it says, sometimes it's easy to focus only on the total demand and supply and to forget who really determines the choices. So, we know in a free society, again, economic decisions are made by individuals, separate people functioning their roles as producers and consumers, and not by just the force. So, anyway, going on. Individuals, let's go on to individuals, send market signals. So what are market signals? Here's a definition here. Market signals are signs that are used by consumers and producers to determine how much of a good to buy or sell at a given time. So in the markets, we know sellers and buyers usually base their decisions about prices and related matters upon indications. So we have indications. So, and both supply and demand are always changing. As the price goes up, there's a signal when the price goes up, as we're all looking at price. And so it turns out as the price goes up, the supplier will think, wow, the price is up, and they'll turn out more goods. And then as the supply is up, the price falls. And at that, when the price falls, of course, the consumer is like, oh, this is a good deal. They go out and buy it. So there is the market signals, just depending on price, right? We know that. Market signals form a kind of regular automatic system for communicating information about the exchange of goods. Consumers constantly send signals to producers to suggest what they want to sell, right? So we have to buy, or what they want to buy and sell. So here's some pictures here of more of by heeding consumers' market signals, producers can intelligently determine the quantity of goods to supply. So market signals are very, very important, as we can see. Let's get back to we got some dolphins going on. So let's go up the top here. Bankers, wholesalers, retailers, manufacturers depend on signals, and they watch for buying signals. So how do they do this? Well, let's think. In a grocery store, we have a food market. With the help of computers, right? On the computer, an owner can check the inventory and see what the inventory and what items are not selling, and what they're not selling maybe remain on the shelves, and what items are selling. So they can look as they look on their shelves, and they say, okay, some items have moved and they're gone out of stock so quickly, and these leave gaps on the shelves. And one brand one brand can sell a lot higher than another, which low in quantity, and they can be selling the same thing. So the manager can know by a glance, by their computerized inventory, what the profits and losses are, and they can analyze this, and they can refrain from ordering those things that do not sell, and they can order more of those things that are selling. These are signals. Each individual sends signals to the retailer about their likes and dislikes too. So retail gives signals to the suppliers, and then the suppliers give signals to the wholesalers, and then the wholesalers give signals to the producers, and the producers may give signals to the farmers. This is a whole process of signals being sent out to each and every one. So we have it knowing that now the signals are in how many items of that product being sold. So going on to this next page here. So in a free market, it is the consumers, you and everybody else, who demands goods, who determine what goods are to produce and in what quantity to produce. That is, very important, right? So an example here would be, in a free market, say pickles. So pickles have been selling a whole lot. And so we see the consumers want more pickles. And so the wholesalers, of course, they are the groceries, of course, go to the, signals to the wholesalers, and they go to the suppliers and the truckload loaders go to the farmers to produce more cucumbers. So, and this all has to do with consumer signals. So let's go up here. I kind of skipped around here, where it talks about durable and non-durable goods. Let's talk about those. Oh, before we get to that part, here's a part here that they're talking about. In another case, our grocery store manager discovers that a certain brand of cake mix is on the shelves, and it stays on the shelves, and wondering why isn't this cake mix being bought. So they go to find out, and they realize that, consumers have complained of the taste of the cake mix. And so they will not accept more of this cake mix. The message goes on, that they need to improve the taste of the cake mix or it will be dropped. And if this doesn't improve and this fails to respond to the signals, that company may gradually go out of business. So it's important to know the signals that persuade, the manager persuades you to manufacture those things. It goes all the way from the manager of the store to the manufacturer. So another thing that I skipped here that I want to go back here are the non-durable and the durable goods. So what's the difference between non-durable goods and durable goods? So for non-durable goods, those are goods that have a life expectancy of less than 3 years. So those are important, that those type of goods get off the shelf right away. And then you have the durable goods. And those are such as like automobiles or refrigerators, and they're expected to last at least 3 years. So when demand for one of these goods diminishes, as shown by sales or buying decisions, producers of that type of a product take notice. And they produce smaller quantities of cars, smaller quantities of appliances, smaller quantities of furniture, or whatever else they have in manufacturing. But when consumers demand more of these goods by their buying decisions, manufacturers increase these quantities. These are durable goods, and they have a longer shelf life in the midst of this. But still, they are receiving signals. And so, non-durable are those goods that have a life expectancy of less than 3 years. Non-durable are like food items, or those things that expire right away. And those are important that they find out exactly which ones are going to be more important in getting them off the shelf, and the consumers will buy certain items because otherwise they're going to rot, right? So it's important. So let's go on to the next page here. Oh, okay, we're right at the end of 5 here. So basically, it's important, as we say, in a free market economy, knowing that it's you and I who gives the signals, who determine what goods are. But that's because we have a competitive free enterprise economy. So we know in this type of economy that we have is going to be quite different than the other economies in the world. So let's go on to the next section. Contrasting economic systems. We're going to talk about other economic systems that are contrasting to our free enterprise system. And so, not all societies use market signals to decide what goods are produced. Many nations are unresponsive to the wants or needs of people altogether. Most of the world has little experience with true market economics and complete freedom that they give to individuals. So that's what's saying, that most countries, most societies, they don't go by market signals. They just decide what the people need or want on their own. And most of the world doesn't have any experience in markets, and so they don't give the people complete freedom, so that they don't give the freedom to the individuals. The individuals do not matter as much as the government as a whole, and that's called socialism or communism. But let's first talk. It goes on to talking here, and I want to go first here. Okay, here we go. First, we're going to talk about in a traditional economic system. So let's begin there. In a traditional economic system. A traditional economy is a simple economy. So you think of maybe, a simple economy in Africa or in countries such as, countries in South America. You think of maybe Brazil or Argentina or these kind of, or onto countries maybe that are gone by traditions, like countries such as India and those kind that have caste systems. So traditional economy has very limited choices. The people, they're used to their tradition, and so they're used to just getting what they get. They don't have a lot of new economy coming in, so our new produce coming in. And so they feel there's not much need for anyone to make such important decisions because they feel it's easy. We've always done it this way, and we're going to keep doing it this way. So the society's wants are unchanging. We eat rice, we eat fish, we eat vegetables, and we have earthen pots that we cook in, and we have a few simple tools, and maybe we even have one-room family huts that we've had for generations. So technology is pretty scarce in many of these areas. So from one decade to next, there's not much advance. So, and most resources are into producing food, right? So producers traditionally plan the same. They grow the rice, and they know how much. They go fishing, and they know how much fish for the village. If they get too much, it's going to rot. If they get too little, the people will starve. These countries and these types of traditional economies are very prone to what? To natural disaster. Because when a disaster happens, they're not going to have a lot saved up in the midst to overcome these disasters. These are traditional economies. I have to say something about traditional economies now. A lot of traditional economies are coming into technology. So we see that. I was in Papua New Guinea, and cell phones were brought in with solar, the solar electricity, solar cell phones, and they were very popular all of a sudden. They were taking pictures of each other, even though they didn't have running water or electricity, they had cell phones. So, because the cell phones came in with the cell towers. So, it just depends. So, traditional economies can change, but they're very slow at changes because they've gone through, done traditionally this way for eons, let's just say that. So that's the traditional. So the other, when we talk about another type, we're going to talk about the command economy here. A command economy is a planned or directed economy, and it's ruled by a centralized government. The government's usually a socialist government, maybe an ultra-socialist government, a fascist government, or a communist government, or basically a government ruled by a dictator in some way. And so they have power to compel the people to basically declare, or compel the people, I should say, to obey economic decrees. So they just want their people to obey the decrees that they have set. So they don't have much regard to consumer preferences at all. So in fact, here's what down here what Herbert Hoover said. So this quote: "You cannot extend the mastery of government over the daily life of a people without somewhere making it master of the people's souls and thoughts." So now when you think of command economy, right here it says there's, as for the free enterprise economy, there's certain times, especially in war and emergencies, that the government has to set in and establish regulations, because it's an important time. In the war times they did. They had to come in, and do rations and such because of the signs of the times. But, totalitarian governments that are set up today, they set up systems for their economics ongoing, for long term. Such things as, as we see here, down at the bottom here, we'll see dictatorial governments with dictators such as Mao Zedong and Stalin during those times. They set up long-range economic plans that they would control the people by. Such as these that you'll hear, the 5-year plan in China and Russia, both, and onto other long-range plans, onto even going into Cuba. And these are plans for the production, distribution, and consumption of goods, which basically is their economy. So they planning these out, the command take take all the legal production quotas are in command. The central government, the limits are set. They set limits on the economy, and this causes a lot of shortages. That's why people are forced to find alternatives and to stand in long lines waiting for things. They don't have the supplies because of the way the command economies has been set, not by the market signals, not by private individuals or business, but by a certain government or dictator. Just saying that. So going on here, it also talks down here about black markets. So what are black markets? And these happen in a lot of communist countries. Black markets to get things that they are not given or allowed to get, right? The black markets turn dark and shadowy. Black markets, sometimes they're illegal, and sometimes they exchange goods that are illegal in those countries. We have black markets even in the United States. But in countries of communists, there's a lot of black marketing, and some of them just for regular goods to be able to get food and supplies. So anyway, black markets here, these shadowy underground systems, which are called black markets, fall far short of meeting consumers' demands, right? So let's go on to the next page here. So okay, what's going on here? There we go. Here's a picture here. It says the individual has little choice about where he works or what he produces in a country with a command economy. So basically they'll just pick, like you would have a pick to where you're going to work or what profession you'll have or what you're going to do or what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear. It's all picked for you. So let's see. This is the exchange of goods in these societies clearly differs much from the almost unlimited choices that people are free to make in the market economy that we know in America. In our system, economic decisions such as what to supply and how to produce are ultimately made by the multitude of individual consumers rather than the traditional government. So, Winston Churchill, what does he have to say here? I like what he says here. Churchill says, that some see private enterprise as a predatory target to be shot, others as a cow to be milked, but few are those who see it as a sturdy horse pulling the wagon. So what's he looking at? The free enterprise is like a sturdy horse pulling the wagon. American consumers make most of the choices we know, and as for politics, yes, politics can get involved. I like this what it says here. In America, the consumers make most of the choices, but in other countries, central political authority makes most decisions. However, even in our economy, government policies affect many production decisions. In a highly socialist and communist countries, there usually remains a small portion of the economy that is carried on by private individuals who make limited decisions about private production. So what's it saying? Yes, in America, we are sometimes influenced by politics in our economy. We know when a socialist type president gets in, they change our government in some way, and they start manipulating with the economy and finances, and we too have problems in our free enterprise. And then in communist countries, sometimes there's a small portion that are making decisions, but they have a small private economy, but usually not nationwide. And usually it's very speculative of a very elite group, right? So let's go on here. The difference between the two types of systems is how much the economy is run by the private sector. So what's the private sector? That the private sector is the part of the economy that's controlled by private individuals, and businesses and organizations is private. So private sector is private individuals, private businesses, and private organizations. But there's also the public sector. The Public sector, which is controlled by the nation, the state, and the local governments. So when you think of private, you're going to think of private businesses, right? And private individuals. Public, you're going to think about controlled by the government. So this is a great table right here. Let's look at this. Free market. In a market economy, the interaction of demand and supply determines what shall be produced. Demand and supply, right? In a command economy, a centralized authority determines how much every good will be produced. So, free market economy. In a market economy that we have, the distribution of goods is decided by consumers, and people spend money to buy what they want, right? But in a command communist type, it determines basically the central authority is determined directly or indirectly what goods will be made available. So they tell you what goods are available. In a market economy, prices are efficiently determined through equilibrium between supply and demand. We know that. But in a command economy, prices are fixed by the central authority, and this control frequently results in surpluses and shortages. Command economies have a lot of surpluses and shortages because the economy is manipulated by the government. So let's go on. Kind of know that now, so I know over that kind of in detail, huh? So we're going to go to section 3, profits and productivity. So I wonder if I should whiz through this or do it in another video. Let's see. Where am I at? Profits and productivity. Well, let's kind of whiz through maybe. So profits and productivity. So profit motive is a reason that a person is willing to trade certain goods, tangible items, labor, and entrepreneurship. And this, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and stop here because I'm going to have to give 2 examples. This is going to take a little while for me to go over. So let's do that in another video. So we're going to get into profits and productivity, which is, I don't want to whiz through because I think it's very important. So let's stop the video here and we'll resume in the next video.